pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will open the meeting of the Newton County Council special meeting of September 22nd. The main purpose of this meeting is the public hearing for the proposed 2026 budget. Purpose would be for the general public to make comments, express questions. So at this time, we'll open the meeting to public. As I look around the room, there's nobody here with the council. So with that, we close public comment since there is nobody here to comment. So we have met our legal obligation to have a hearing open to the public. But we are open for any other business, special meetings, so anything that could come before us can be transacted today. Yes, one thing that I would like to report on is they not that we said
Friday, I think. Right. Hold on, these are running together.
what's Friday. Today's
Look at my calendar.
Friday. Matt Walsh and I, along with
Yes, Friday.
Commissioner Tyler, met with shortly with Microeconomic Development, Carl Ramsey, Economic Development Board, and Mike Lopowski, the landowner in the contractor for development. They asked if we could meet to answer a few questions they had, just general discussion, just everybody did that. It's pretty informative from Mr. Lopowski's side. Select side, although I guess it's technically not selected more if I understand it right. Over that now. He just asked a question about David coming on during the discussions on Wednesday meeting. He wasn't involved in some of the requirements that we have on motion to the main discussion is on grants. And what our stance was, I don't know, there wasn't obviously no decisions made by any means, and I want to make it clear that I didn't feel like that in any way was Lopowski trying to influence us one way or the other. Understand? He offered information, why he was so excited about this project, but hadn't heard it. You know, it comes down to getting more people in the area to go through not only the new proposed facility, but the current facility. So it's the business decision. I don't know, my dad, I'll be here.
No, I said you covered it. This was informative and just, as Scott mentioned, a couple questions around the grant. One each clarifications of 8.5 versus 10, but you did a good job recapping it, Scott. Yes, yeah.
And actually, Mike Carl had some questions.
Yes.
It was kind of discussion here. Well, at least we feel the general feeling of the council was they weren't real clear on the, which that did bring up a question on the reappropriation. They didn't quite understand why that had to be.
Yeah.
But Mike did have a copy of request to appropriate that money February.
Yeah, it was early in the year. Yeah.
It wound up just dying.
We did, and I was pretty sure of that, that
Yeah.
we didn't, we didn't take action on that because there wasn't a sign.
Yeah.
So, miscommunication or whatever, Mike didn't realize it would have to be advertised again since it had been done. So, I got that from someone.
He emailed me, and then that's what I explained to him. There was no action taken at that time because we didn't have a signed contract or at least so.
So it was, I just wanted everybody to know that that's very grapevine and hey, these guys were out there being quiet. We did it.
To that end, Mike Rowe indicated to me that if they get the contract substantially signed, there's one part they probably cannot fill out, and that is the 4-month completion date based on the start date, because they don't know the start date, let's begin. So we wanted to see, my thought is, and I think we can give that, because you can't give a start date and end date, you can't commit to it. Some items of a contract would not be fully executed. I thought we'd rather work around that, but that's just my personal.
And that was discussed, that was part of the discussion we had on the contract, was there are some of those plans. That are gone, having signed, but we filled in, that, and we should start. Suggested that there needs to be an attachment that said that these will be filled in with, so we're understanding.
Well, my issue about that is if they're expecting us to make a decision on funding their project, I'd like to get as much information as I possibly. Yeah, agreed. Even though, they may know what it's all about, what goes in there, what's going to go in there, what's going to go in there. I can understand they may know what's going to go in there, but that behind it. That's the problem I have with them.
And we expressed that.
Yeah.
And
There's no reason, we talked about that, so that in my mind, I get this, I understand the start date, but there's no reason all those attachments can't be in there already, and, the legal descriptions, and all that stuff that was missing at the end, there's already that stuff could be there.
I wonder if part of the legal descriptions is gonna be, they're coming before the plan commission.
That's tomorrow night, yeah.
And to ask for a PUD, so they probably haven't got a legal description yet, they know what they wanted to, hasn't officially sanctioned.
They have a legal description because they have a survey in order to split the ground. So there is a legal, I've already seen it and mapped it out.
So they do have it, okay, I didn't know if it was waiting on us to make some type of approval. Thank you.
Well, the auditor's office has asked from here out, before that stuff goes to the plan commission or tech, that we kind of review it first, because there's no sense in paying and doing everything else, because we've had the dairy not have proper stuff. And it's screwed things up, and it took us 3 years just to straighten where they put the hydro plant or facility. I got to the point that I was not going to accept anything else from the dairy until it was straightened. It was
What
a
were they
mess,
doing
so.
Incorrectly, or not doing.
When they just decided to bring this, and the county plan, they don't read the legal descriptions. Well, it left holes, it left landlocks, it crossed over into an area that's not in the TIF. So it created a huge thing, and you guys just accepted it. I have to do the cleanup then.
So you're
Or the
like part
office.
of the tech committee, we should involve you in a tech committee before it goes to a plan commission.
Oh, yes, and we have told down there at the county or the building commissioner's office, please just have them come to us. Let us map it out right then. I mean, when they come in, we map it out. I don't want them to pay to record or survey or anything. That's just a waste, because then you gotta redo everything. So I'm trying to save the tax
I
dollars.
understand that, in our last joint, meeting, Steve Eilers asked the building department, Christine, please do that to come to them as soon as they get an application for a permit. So you guys in the background can make sure all our ducks are in order. That's what
Yes.
it was about.
Yes,
It just costs us more money, I'm guessing, because we have to like clean it up at times, yeah.
yeah, when you have to do those Mylars and everything else, and then you
Yeah.
pay for all that, and then it finally comes to my hands at the very end. And I'm like, no.
That's not gonna work. Yeah.
Right, then you gotta take it back to your surveyor, and it costs a lot of money at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's human, but yes. That one up there was a big disaster. And Michigan attorneys sometimes don't always understand Indiana land, so.
Right.
They need to deal with it at the end of that project.
And you can't landlock, and you can't leave holes, and so.
another thing that we did discuss a little bit up there was, was the possibility, if there was to be an amendment made to that original motion to, amend any one of those requirements. The one thing that we would probably want to discuss was the, non-for-profit portion that came up after the fact. So, they're aware that I don't know what solution will be, an exemption for just that specific part, guarantee that the rest of it will not go to a non-for-profit.
Forgot about that.
They
I
were,
think this-
they were receptive of that, which I said, they don't have to. Be said. Say this correctly. It's up to us to do that. We didn't ask them to do it. They don't have to, they even like what we're asking, but they're aware that that is a concern. And that if anything was gonna be amended, there would probably be an additional requirement for it on.
But starting out, we carve out a 1 acre parcel. Say no more than this 1 acre could be dedicated to that, correct?
Well, whatever.
Whatever they come out.
I don't know, to be the wrong set of one. What's my first?
But it's gonna be a fixed,
For the health portion,
Yeah,
could we rediscuss that,
the mental health, I forgot about that, Scott, you just mentioned it. The mental health at the clinic. Or to, yeah,
which could be a community clinic.
so exactly, yeah, community clinic, yeah. But yeah, I think we've talked about that a little in the past as well, just to make sure that that whole facility doesn't become a non-for-profit.
And if they have something very worthwhile, we come in and say, we'd like to add another non-profit for this good reason that we agree to it. We just look at a change or to, how do you say?
So you gotta watch, I don't know how their buildings are gonna go, I mean, if they have it inside another building, you can't just carve out 1 acre and split in a building. So.
Agree, I mean, they'd have to ask, they couldn't just do it, and
Correct.
see if it could be done.
The spirit, I think, of it is just, we don't wanna turn a $60 million facility into a complete not-for-profit that now we get no tax revenue from at all. Yeah.
and then also just for exposure, Mr. McCloskey had been obviously in contact with Glenn from Marbella. Glenn had Glenn understood it, knew that Mike was gonna talk with us, so Mike had some, I don't know, information, but he passed along some things that he had told Glenn, such as, their lease is contingent upon $5 million. And I would say that. If we were to reduce that, I don't think Mr. McCloskey's gonna. I don't know how they even the lease time,
Yeah.
but anyway, if you would like.
There were two things that I think were very clear that, you know, there. 5 million is it, and there is no more from the 8.5, that there's no place else to go to get any more money to get to 10. I think those were the two things that they made very clear.
So I just wanted everybody to know that they've done that. Let's see what we can come up with. 16, maybe.
My question, why is this whole lease the building? Contingent was the $5 million that they would get. That they would be doing once.
That'd be a question from I didn't.
I don't know the answer to that.
Say that again.
Well, by what I take what Scott said is if they don't get the $5 million from us, then the lease agreement. Did I misunderstand that?
No, that's pretty much the way he stated it, but I don't think it was as much against us as towards Marbella. Mike was directing that towards Glenn, basically.
Right.
Yes. That well,
In order for Mike to sign the lease, Marbella had to come up with 5 million.
from the county as well as the other. I think it had to do with, I don't know. I like maybe personal commitments and integrity, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have another thought too, whereas we were gonna, if you look at the financials and sign an FTA,
Yes,
um,
I specifically asked Mike to address that, Mike Rowe, to get that, so
Tuesday, or when you talk.
when we
Friday.
talked on Friday, I talked to him and said, can you, we need as a council to see the.
Well,
financials.
if it is, let me credit, if it is a conflict of interest for you or for us to see his financials, I don't think it is, but I'm not a lawyer, but,
Right.
okay. Why couldn't we hire, an accounting firm, Rensselaer, they use Del Rich, and Rensselaer, and say, sign the NDA, here's $1,000, whatever it costs you to review this, to review it for us and give us judgment, just to say, this is a good idea, it's a bad idea, or it's 50-50. An independent third party, so that they're not a voting member on a resolution.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that done. Is that, Linda's not here, so I can't ask her. I think that would be a
That's a
wise
good idea.
idea, that would
Yeah.
benefit all of us, so. I don't know what I'm looking at when I'm looking at financials, but you do.
Yeah.
If she doesn't want you to look at it, let's have a third party do it.
Yeah.
If that's to the council, if it wasn't out of our budget or my budget.
Yeah, I think so, the timeline.
Yeah. I'm not, I mean, obviously it'd be great to see it, but the fact that multiple outside third parties have reviewed it for private investment money and private equity money, and again, or they're all clearly in, I mean, that, you know, they have private money that's doubled the first round, 30 million to basically 60 million, so I feel better about it there because other, you know, I'm sure they've scrutinized it 6 weeks to Sunday, or they're not gonna put up a bunch of private debt.
So
To
basically,
build it.
it was brought to light. I don't know if I had really understood that before. In Marvella's presentations. I think they probably said it, I just didn't really grasp it. The $1.5 million they're short on the grant requirement has been replaced not by borrowing funds, but by investors.
Yeah.
So they've taken on more owners, more people investing. Yes, they have probably looked over the financials.
Yeah. So it was, yeah, it was a good point, it was not debt money.
It increased debt because they didn't get one, that's what it is. If they build that gap with investors, maybe that's a little bit of an issue.
I think that, it would be just as a sideways of looking at financials and the other person investing in it.
I agree.
Agreed. I think it comes down to the NDA, which I agree, I'm not an attorney, just, you know, sign the NDA and to our attorney and comment that we may not be able to vote on it. I don't want to jeopardize my ability to, you know, vote on this, but I do think we should, as a council, be able to see it somehow, or at least maybe a third party analyze it, and tell us, here's what it is, you know, we're 70% confident, or 80 or 20, or, you know, whatever that is.
Can I explore that possibility? Reach out and say to Principal and Ellie and ask them what they would charge and ask them if it's something they're capable of doing. On behalf of council, and they get back to us.
Why would it be quicker to it?
Oh. Okay, that's makes sense. They're already on the payroll.
They've already seen it all, I think.
Probably. And Mike may have, they may have already signed something, and Mike Rowe maybe talk to him right away if we can get an answer before the next
Makes
meeting.
a lot of sense. Because they know the stuff, it's like that.
We get that, to look into that for us, because he seems to be the one
I'll
that has the most knowledge on what.
I'll follow up with Mike, Mike Rowe.
It should be in here.
She'll only be here.
Oh,
They'll leave your
perfect.
meeting in 10 minutes. Actually, anytime, come.
So when we're talking about possible amendments and contingencies and stuff, was the idea of the ticket fee just if we went beyond the first phase of money? Was that just if we,
I don't think that decision has any. Oh, honest, I guess my.
Right.
okay,
That's completely on us.
okay, I just didn't know as,
You would hope they would be on board with it, but.
Right.
I don't know that.
But I didn't know
Whether they're
that
on board or not.
got initiated because of the
I don't-
possibility of the second wave of money, which I think everybody's agree that realistically that won't happen unless
Think so.
there's
There's a lot
some
of-
form of repayment, I mean.
I think too, one of the things, talk about the, financial piece, when this all started, I don't know, what, 2024, three, I don't know when,
I think.
before my time.
I think three, probably.
Yeah. I obviously, I've heard. This is, the comments have been made over time, or originally they came with, we just want support,
Mhm.
just give us a letterhead, and then that turned into the. Want some money, and then that turned into 3 5s for, 15 million, and, now we're back to, 5, but I think one thing that is true in this, and how this all evolved is. We went from appropriating in 24, whenever it was, 5 million. For basically about 25 million in work,
In facility.
in facility investment. If we do this, now we're appropriating 5 million, and we're getting 60 million in facilities and buildings and work for no more on our end. So from a financial investment, we doubled our money basically without putting more in. So I do think there's some value in that. Because they combined phase one, and as they mentioned several times, phase 1 and 2 are now just phase 1. So we're getting $60 million worth of facilities for the same 5 million they asked us for back in 24, or whatever it was. So I do think there's some value in that.
So. I think that's about it from,
Yeah.
or unless you guys have questions, those. Okay. One other thing real quick. And I think you're all aware, there's over the last several years, we have made contributions have been made into, contributions isn't probably the right word, payments have been made into landfill closure that were actually repayments of loans that were granted by the county, mainly to the municipals in the county. And as those repayments, money came out of landfill fees, and as those payments, as those loans were repaid, we're putting the repayments in closure. My suggestion would be, that we take those monies back out. Because there was never a true official action taken that I know of to do that. It was just with an agreement by the council, and the previous auditor, current auditor followed suit. Did that same thing. So, I don't know what you guys feel about it, but I think we're on the auditor figure together on what we put in there. As repayments for and several who got that in the landfill.
I think that we need to do that, as my opinion, as well as, revert back to the standard of returning funds to the person which they came to receipts from.
I second that. So with that, before our next meeting, we come up with a figure in our thing. Closure that wasn't officially correct. Then. Decide what we want to do.
Yes, so whatever you guys decide to do, so in order to move from fund to fund. I have to advertise as a transfer of funds, so one has to be a positive and one has to be a negative. Because we have to be transparent, even though it's not taxed, but it has to go through and then I have to put it in. I've done that a few times.
So we would be able to do that until November. Okay, so
I can still get it in, because I have to this Friday, I mean, I can roughly put together, send it to you guys this week. I can advertise Friday, if something doesn't look right, we don't have to take action at that point, we can table and adjust.
Yeah, that's good.
So everything in closure is from here from 2010 to current, my office is aware that we will no longer receive into closure, we'll go back into.
All right, that's good. I don't know if we have official action.
I will give the numbers this week before advertising.
Anything else? We do have in the room, Mr. Gertz from, American Legion. Did you come to make comments on the general budget since this was our hearing, David?
No.
No,
Okay, because I was roping it back up.
no, sir, I did not.
Okay.
No.
All right. I didn't think so, but just wanted to make sure. Keep all our constituents happy. So, with that, anything else to come before the today? Have a motion from Tom, second from Nick, to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned. Meetings the 16th, I think so.